What?
No, I was gonna say
Terrifying.
speaking of phone numbers, I need to give everyone my phone number because if there's like
All right, it's
if
coming
somebody
through. It's coming. Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
hello there.
Love it.
Now.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Legends Lookback, where we practice our hello there's 1,000 times in Kenobi Week, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people who search the depths of their cereal boxes for color-changing spoons, where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my legendary Jedi-robed, mostly co-hosts, Freddie C. It's not a Jedi robe, but it's a robe. We'll count
Decided
it.
to go with the smoking jacket.
The smoking jacket.
That counts.
Someone asked for robes, and I decided to bring out my robe. But Freddie, huh? That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
You know who else is
about
a
a
name
week.
I haven't heard in a long time? Emily Daybeck.
Hello, hello. Hello there. Yeah, it's quite hot here on the surface of Tatooine where I live. This robe was maybe a poor choice, but we're committed and we're here, and I'm so excited to talk about Kenobi.
The Jedi robes will do that. I cranked my air down to 70 degrees, turned the fan on high, so I'm doing okay. You know who else is doing okay?
Mistake.
Rick Grace. How are you, Rick?
I am good. I don't have my glasses, therefore I have contacts. So if I make a lot of weird squinty faces, it's because I really can't see.
Just trying to like
Because of your-
artificially weather your face like Obi-Wan did on
That
Tatooine.
that
right?
could be.
I was
it.
gonna say all the sand in your eyes from the
Yeah, sure.
weathering of the tattoo.
We'll go with that.
And joining us from the Cosmic Force, a name that I can't really use the not a name I've heard in a long time thing because I heard her yesterday on the Cosmic Force, Emma Park. Thank you for joining us.
Woo, thanks everybody. Thanks for having me. I didn't have a robe or a hood, so I had to go with the hair flip. And only for Legends Look Back will I put my hair down when it's not done for y'all. So there you go.
That was awesome.
Nice.
Well, we appreciate it. Glad to have you here. It is your first time reading. Where is it? Right over there. Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. Is that right, Emma?
That's correct. And I actually have a really funny story about this for you guys. You ready?
Let's hear
Always.
it.
I woke up this morning and I hadn't started the book.
What? Emma.
I have some insight on this, by the way.
Yeah. So, but listen, when I make a promise, I keep the promise. I took all day today and I read the whole book. So we're
No
here.
way.
Wow.
a one-day read.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
impressive.
I mean, if there's one skill that college taught me, it was like
Yep.
how to listen to an audiobook on 3 times speed and still be able to comprehend it. So
3
Oh.
times?
3 times speed, yeah.
Is
yeah.
that
I'm at
legal?
2 times, and my husband makes fun of me for that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Do you
I know.
like skip words?
Not really. No, like sometimes like during the action scenes it goes a little fast, but I read
Right.
along with the physical book while I'm listening to it. I wouldn't be able to do it like without the physical book like that. That's for sure. But
Can
like I listen to
Emma's
podcasts
lying
on
here.
2
I
times.
think-
What?
Like
Emma
What?
puts her hand over the book and then she reads it. Like she just takes in the information
She
right when
force
she
reads
touches
it.
it.
force read. It only takes me like 10 seconds to read a book. I've read every single book like
yes,
in the
this
universe.
we're living in the Matrix right now, and that's all you do is just
Oh my gosh.
plug in.
yeah.
Charles
Well,
in the chat says, Dr. Charles Henkel, #1 Kenobi fan at Utini, says that this is, if you've got to read a book in one day, this is a great choice. I vehemently disagree. Shots fired. All right, knockout, drag out fight
Really?
here on Legends Look Back. I think this is a
Yeah.
book to be absorbed over weeks because it is a slow burn.
It is a
I
slow
would agree
burn.
with you, Jared.
You need
Put
to
your
be
glasses
outside, like
on.
doing yard work in the summertime heat and like really feel the sweat.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
The
I would
because
tend
this-
to agree with you a little bit more. I mean, well, this is like the first time I've read anything in a day. Like to be fair, I've read stuff in like 2 days, but I would say that like probably a book with more action would be more suited to a speed run like this. But I mean, I wasn't disappointed in it if that's what you're asking. And by the way, I do want to clarify like. I have been like super busy lately. I didn't like forget about it. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
I like moved
Didn't
out of
have
place
time.
and stuff. Like I've been
We see
looking
where
forward
we
to this a
rank.
lot. So
We had
Um,
Jacob on
yeah.
the show for our last crossover for
Oh, that's
Shadows
right,
of the
yeah.
Empire, and he didn't read the book. He had
yeah,
you
he didn't
on.
read it at all. Yeah. meanwhile,
Great.
I suffered through that thing.
Yep.
I cannot wait to hear you talk about it. So glad to have you here. It's is a really spectacular book. It's a very special occasion, and we bought Jedi robes. Some of us like Rick went to Goodwill and then cut things up at home in order
Mhm.
to build their own costumes.
Really?
I didn't even wash them. Who knows what's gonna happen to me?
He took that off
my
the
God.
homeless man. I seen
I
it.
didn't have
on
time.
edge.
Somebody
I
clip that.
didn't
On
have
edge.
time.
I'm clipping that.
And his name was Old Ben as well.
His name
My-
was Old Ben. He lived under a bridge.
My,
Maybe that's
my
where the cough came
underrobes-
from.
Yeah, maybe. My underrobes are $24 Target bathrobe. So
Mm.
Nice.
you got to do what you got to do. I spent all my budget on the outer robes. So shout out to Hannah Laminack, Caleb Laminack's wife from the Cosmic Forest, for creating mine and Rick's custom Jedi robes.
Yes. Mine's better.
And, you know what's not a great time of the year to get Jedi robes?
It's not.
Summer.
Yes.
Because then what are you going to do with them? I did some yard work the other day. Like before I did the yard work, walked around the yard a little bit in the robes just to enjoy them. And my wife laughed at me, but it did not last all that long. They're very
Oh,
very
you don't
warm.
use your Jedi robes to meditate in the lawn while you control the lawnmower with your mind. That's not a thing. That's not how you do it.
Anyway, we are here tonight to talk about Kenobi. Before we do, I want to give a special shout out to our new patron, Matthew Mylinski, who has become an annual patron. Those annual memberships especially do help us out. They go a long way in terms of helping us, pay for things like Celebration. Because if you guys haven't met Corey Hilton, he doesn't do anything halfway. And we have got a spectacular celebration planned. I cannot wait. I had another little celebration thing come in the mail today. I'll show it off very soon. I got a custom pin for my backpack. It's Legend Z. So hang on. You can see it at Celebration if you're there. Come and find me, and I'll show you, but I won't trade for it because it's custom made. All right. Well, Rick,
yes.
tell us about Kenobi Week. We got anything else going on this week with Kenobi Week that we haven't yet shown off? We got a poster. What can we do?
Let's see. I don't even know. Do you want me to get the graphic up?
Yeah, pull it up. We've got at least one more thing we want to announce, and that is that on Sunday, we had to push it due to technical difficulties. After us, we've already had Living Force, Cosmic Force. Tonight is round 3. Earlier today, we had a video from Nathan on the video team about everything you need to read if you want the full story of Kenobi. Even gave a couple of Legends shout-outs there. Shouts out? Yeah, shouts out.
Shouts out.
Shout out.
Yeah, we're shipping it. And Sunday, the Star Wars Archives is going to be doing the bin years. I've seen some of the notes. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. And I've got to say, Trevor sent me an audio clip of the introduction that he's prepared. And it is spectacular. It is definitely worth those $5 patron dollars to get that extra bonus show. Trevor is pulling out all the stops.
That's exciting.
So let's get into the book. Freddie, tell the good folks about Kenobi.
Yeah. So introduction to the book, right? Who is the author? Is John Jackson Miller. You've got to put the before the John Jackson Miller. He is one of my favorite authors. I think we could call him friend of the show, huh, guys? Friend of the show, John Jackson Miller.
Friend of the show. Our first interview.
Known for books like A New Dawn, Lost Tribe of the Sith, Knights of the Old Republic, and Knight Errant. And I could say I'm pretty sure everyone on this panel here is a fan of John Jackson Miller and his work.
I'm gonna hijack because I can. He also writes some great Star Trek books that you should check out too.
No.
Oh my God.
Just wanted to say. All right, back to you, Freddie.
Have you read one of his?
Yeah, I've read his most recent Star Trek book. He's got another one coming out soon.
He
That's
did
great.
suggest
Good for
us
you.
to dip our toe into that, and Jared and I have not done that yet. But
I
Rick,
did not have the gall to tell him I will not read a Star Trek book.
Next time
That's
I
fair,
talk to
that's
him, I'll
fair.
be sure to say that this race to the finish has a consequence, and he'll help me choose that.
I think he'll enjoy that.
That'd be
for
fun.
Sure. Yeah. So he's
That would
written
be cool.
4 or 5 full-length Legends books. Got his hand in canon too, with A New Dawn and Canto Bight and some short stories here and there.
Yeah.
This came out right at the end of the Legends era. Go ahead, Freddie.
No, right, you're right. Right at the end of Legends era, 2013, I believe that was a year before the end of Legends, if I'm not mistaken. Right, 2014 was the cutoff
Yeah, you're
point.
correct.
Yeah, so the hardcover was published in 2013. The cover was done by Chris McGrath, which it's a great cover, honestly. I really love the cover. Let's see, the paperback was released in 2014 with the banner, which was that one of the first official bannered Legends books?
It's a controversy. In fact, I think it is the first because there's not a bannerless copy of the paperback.
That's right. Yeah, because it was right at that cutoff point.
Not if you own a
I can't
Sharpie.
even
There's
say it
not.
without pain. Ow!
but we did get it in Essential Legends collection, so that was 2021 with some new art by Gregory Manchess, which honestly the art beautiful. You know what, the thing about the Legends collection is the art and the covers are, in my opinion, a lot better in some cases than their original counterpart. But you know, we don't have to go into that.
Let's look at them. We do have some of the art if you want to look at it real quick. You want to do that now, Jared?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we can spit some behind the scenes in the meantime. While we
Yeah, so
show
here's the for our audio listeners, we pulled up the cover of the original hardcover. Oh, this might be my favorite Star Wars cover. It's simple, it's clean, it's clear.
Got Ewan McGregor on it.
It's got Ewan McGregor.
That's the most important part.
It really is. You can't mess it up when you've got that handsome man on there.
Oh, no.
Well, and you look at that face of resolve. I mean, there's no cutting that resolve.
Oh,
right?
sorry.
Oh!
My bad. My bad. Oh,
Look at the physique on that second one.
yeah. Oh. Face of resolve.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
For our audio
hysterical.
listeners, Rick is showing off a picture he took this morning wearing his Jedi robes, in which case
His
he's doing like the
bootleg
rock
Jedi
and roll
robe.
fingers
I want to
Ins-
see that again.
instead of
Are you
like,
sure?
the lightsaber.
Yes.
Yes.
We need a longer look. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I
So
love
good.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
messaged
wonderful.
I
The
messaged
vibrator.
Jared this morning and said it's not great, and also I know that I did the finger thing wrong, because
By this morning, he sent me this at midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning.
you're so welcome.
You are blessed.
Yeah,
And honestly, Rick, like I cannot believe that a majority of your outfit came from Goodwill. I literally can't.
I
It looks so
know.
good.
yeah. Those are
It
$1
does.
boots. $1 boots. Although in that picture, it looks like I only have one leg. But Yeah.
Rick, I've been trying to wrangle together a Star Wars costume out of Goodwill finds for like, no joke, probably 5 years now. I'm amazed.
Nice. There's another angle, and then I got one more for you.
They look
You could
great.
start a
That's
business.
in Coruscant,
Thank you
right?
to-
Yeah.
Congratulations, Hannah. Hannah Laminack, everybody.
That's right.
Get some of her custom Jedi robes. They will not disappoint. The fabric, she finds just the most perfect fabrics too.
Indeed. Back to the
She's a
real
queen.
guy.
Okay, so we've got the original cover. Do we have the ELC cover? Here it is.
Yeah.
By Gregory Manchess. We've shown it off quite a bit. It's kind of got this like painted watercolor thing going on with it.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jared,
yeah.
do you know what the original title of Kenobi was supposed to be?
Oh, yeah. John Jackson Miller has on his website, Faraway Press, behind the scenes on all of his books. So if you're into that sort of thing. So I remember him talking about it was inspired by the movie Shane. So what is it? Obi?
Almost. Rick, you want
Monkey
to take
Jabba.
a guess?
Is it?
Almost. That's closer.
It's Ben, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Just Ben.
Yeah, originally it was preliminary titled as Ben, and that was in response to what you were saying, Jared. It had the influence of that Shane title, right? Where it was a single name. We got it. We got Kenobi, which honestly probably a better title than Ben for some of those people who just don't really see Ben as a very Star Warsy name, you know.
Yeah. All the same, I could see like the moment that like the title was revealed in the book. I remember exactly that moment when he's like, Ben,
yeah.
huh?
Mhm.
And it's like this
That's
whole
the name
big
I
thing.
haven't
There's like that
heard in a
pause
long
when you
time.
find the
I can
title in the
imagine
book.
the life that he lived in that very second when that was when he
Mm.
said what was it, Obi-Wan?
Hmm.
Oh.
I
Flashed
still
the
think
Clone Wars.
Kenobi is a better title than the show, the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, I completely
I
agree.
think so.
I still
I
call it
think
so.
Kenobi
Oh, yeah.
sometimes by accident.
Yeah.
I think I'll
Yeah.
always call it Kenobi, and I think most people might default to saying just Kenobi.
Sure.
Just easier to say.
It is.
But yeah, I agree with you there, Jared. But we got a bunch of hot takes tonight, don't we?
Yeah,
Mm,
for sure.
spicy.
As hot
In
as our
these
Jedi
hot
robes.
robes.
One
That's for
one more
sure.
hot take, and that is this Brazilian cover. I think
Oh.
an alternate cover. It's
Whoa,
pretty
that
sick.
is hot.
Ah,
Okay.
Well, this is by the
I
same
think that
artist.
wins.
I'm
This is
getting a
also by
little
Chris
moist.
McGrath.
Oh my gosh. Ew.
And how somehow this guy relegated to Brazil. And
Yeah, it's sweaty.
I feel like I need to get it. What do y'all
Freddie,
think?
what?
Should
You
I
need
get it?
that.
Get down?
Dude,
I
yeah.
need that.
Like some of the Brazilian covers are great. Then apparently it's John
Yeah.
Jackson Miller's because the A New Dawn is really really good too. It's the
Yeah.
Brazilian cover. So
A nice Latin spicy take.
Yeah,
I like it.
indeed.
The title even looks really sleek on that one.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I
There
think
was-
the other cover has on it is that the second sun is more prominent. I
That's
like it when
fair.
you can see
Yeah.
the two suns because it really, I love it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Freddie, keep us rolling through the behind the scenes here.
Yeah. So during the release of this book, there was I remember when this came out too in the New York Comic Con. Yeah, 2013. They had these keychains that were the crate call keychains. Is that right? The crate call keychains.
Yeah, did you get one of
And-
these from the book club we were both a part of way back in the day?
Yeah.
Wait,
Definitely.
what?
Yeah,
Does it
man,
make
I
a
wish I still had
noise?
it. It did. I don't
Yeah,
remember what it
it's
sounds
like-
like, but yeah,
Like the sound he makes in A New Hope, right?
exactly. So the
Can I
sound
record
that
that as my ringtone? Jared's
could.
version.
No, all right.
Go,
So this is a
Jared.
point of debate. Do you guys know about the debate with the crate calls?
I
Oh,
do
isn't
know
it different in the
debate. I
special
was about
editions?
to. So there's like different recordings of the crate call, right? There's one recording where they have two guys screaming in a parking lot at different spots, and they mix the audio together to make that.
I love that.
It's so bad that when I
And
watched
secretly, it's Jared and Freddie are the two men that are
I
screaming.
Freddie, we legitimately should try to remake it.
They
So
gave us an advanced copy of Kenobi, and then they recorded us.
I
Oh my
watched
gosh.
A New Hope a few weeks ago with my daughter. She asked to watch it, and when your daughter asks to watch Star Wars, you cancel your plans and you watch Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
I love how none of you hesitated there
Yeah.
to affirm me. You're my people. And when that came on, my wife was in the room, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to do the Kenobi show, and we're going to talk about this particular point that this has been remixed from the originals. It's had 3 or 4 different versions throughout the years. The original is the best, in my opinion. And then, it was so bad that my wife cried, cackling when she heard it. So, Rick, I believe we've got audio of the different versions throughout the years. So we're going to compare them.
We have video as well. I'm not sure the rest of our crew is going to be able to hear it, but the viewers on YouTube will be able to hear it for sure.
Yeah, let me just give a shout out to Charles.
Is it the video of the two men of screaming?
No, we should make that one. Charles says, I scream in the parking lot after work all the time. Could have been me.
Could have been me.
All right, so let's see it.
Put it on a t-shirt.
All right, check out this video.
And sadly, we could not hear it on our end. So let us know in the comments which one is your favorite. And do you think it was Dr. Charles Henkel, a part of that screaming sensation that was happening there?
Could have
and
been.
We've got one more audio clip. Freddie, tell the good folks what we're about to listen to next.
Yeah. So we've got another interesting audio clip here. James Arnold Taylor, 3 first names in one. That he always says that during his.
Oh, does he? I was like, man,
during
you
his
shouldn't make
panels
fun
as
of
well.
James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah. He actually he recorded. Let's see, what did he record here? There's a.
It's one of the.
I accidentally clicked on the link.
Oh, nice.
Opened it.
Freddie, have you ever used the internet before, man?
I have. I've been on it all day. Let's see. There's also a bunch of names over this. You guys can click away so I could read it. Record on.
So the meditations. He recorded one of the meditations. You know, there's the meditations all throughout the book, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kenobi's all sad and alone, trying to talk to Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's like, "I'm not gonna talk back, man. You're just gonna have to embarrassingly talk to yourself."
Yeah.
For the next 10 years. James Arnold Taylor recorded one of those sections, those little chapters. As promotional material. They don't promote books like this anymore. I mean, keychains?
They should.
Celebrities?
Yeah.
So let's hear it, Rick.
All right.
Excerpt from Star Wars Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, read by James Arnold Taylor. Second meditation. Let's try this again. I'm afraid I haven't had any success with this means of communication, Master Qui-Gon. Perhaps you haven't had anything to say, and, well, that's fine. I've tried speaking to you mentally. I shall try speaking aloud for a while, see if that makes a difference. Since I last tried speaking to you, I've made some tactical moves. Owen Lars didn't want me hanging about near his home anymore. He had a point, believe it or not. Creeping on hillsides every morning and evening might not be the best way to avoid drawing attention to his farm. So I've found another place. You might be alarmed when you hear how far away it is. It certainly unnerves me. You remember the Zelric Draw, where we landed the ship from Naboo years ago? This is due south of that, up against the northern wall of the Highlands, the Jundland Wastes. Only we're at the far end of the formation where Owen lives, maybe 100 kilometers. It's a funny way to keep watch over someone, I know. I can't get there and back in a day en route, and I'm reluctant to get so much as a speeder bike for fear of the attention I'd attract. The Tuscan natives seem to follow anything shiny they find. I could lead them to the Lars farm if I'm not careful, and anyone watching from satellite might notice a pattern to my travels. I've also ruled out leaving surveillance equipment. Access to the galactic mainframe is spotty everywhere here, but regardless,
Wow, so cool that James Arnold Taylor recorded one of these meditations. If you think about it, one of the 3 Kenobis, or 4 if you count Stephen Stanton, who voiced him in Rebels, one of the Kenobis himself recorded a section of this book. Ah, it's so awesome. I love all the behind the scenes. I actually did not know about that clip until this week when I was doing research. So let's get into it. What do y'all say?
Yeah, let's do it.
We are talking about Kenobi.
Yes.
By John Jackson Miller from 2013. There's Sand People, Sarlacc, the Utini mascot moisture evaporators. Kenobi rides an Eope like a bantha. And there's sand. So much sand. It gets everywhere.
Of course.
And a baby Eope.
And it's in this book. You okay there, Emily?
Surprise pregnancy. Yeah, you guys are just killing me.
The surprise pregnancy. That's what got you? I wonder why.
No, it was
Moist.
That was. I'm done.
Rick, what?
Rick has developed his own inside joke like an 8th grader, so he's sticking with it.
That nobody else
He and
understands.
Freddie just go back and forth.
So here it is. Spoiler warning, everybody. This is your moment. If you have not yet read Kenobi, you can, like Emma, read it all in a day, or like a reasonable person, take your time and come back to the show, and we will be talking all about it. So this occurs immediately in the aftermath of episode 3. You know, the one with "You are my brother, Anakin."
That was
Obi-Wan
good.
sets off.
That was
Hey,
very
thank
good.
you.
Great.
Whew, it sure beats my hello there from earlier. It sounded like an Arkansan
You've
farmer.
hit your stride. That was just your warm up.
Obi-Wan sets off for his exile on Tatooine, where he keeps an eye on young Luke Skywalker from afar, which, let me just say, sounds kind of like a rapper name, Young Luke, right? Anyway, so he has to adjust to life on the Jundland Waste and the harsh desert sands of Tatooine. He embraces letting the sun weather his skin to age him prematurely, partly for penance and partly for disguise, but mostly because Ewan McGregor has a lot of catching up to do if he wants to look half as old as Alec Guinness. Back on Tatooine, the home world of his good old Padawan, turned buddy turned Sith Lord / burnt carcass, Anakin Skywalker. That's where he's going to be hanging out. What could possibly go wrong? Well, while Owen and Beru are changing Luke's diapers across the Jundland Waste, Obi-Wan needs supplies, water mostly, because it's Tatooine. So he heads for the local general store, Walmart, of Tatooine, called the Pika Oasis. There he encounters more trouble than he expected, including sand people, Jawas. Somebody going to say it?
Utini!
All right. Teenagers. Those teenagers. And a woman. Annalene Calwell, the store's owner and operator and mom. There's a chase sequence with banthas and a sarlacc. Sand people shootout. A new character emerges on the scene, a formidable Tusken Raider chief matriarch, Ayark, known congenially by the settlers as Plug Eye. She discovers that there are mysterious forces at work surrounding Obi-Wan, Annalene, and her daughter, Callie Calwell. She brilliantly schemes to kidnap Callie in order to save the Sand People from extinction at the hands of Oren Galt's dastardly band of no-good settlers. The ones who dress up as Tuskens in order to wreak havoc on their neighbors, in order to con them into subscribing to the settlers' call. A crate dragon alarm system aided by a posse of local militia. That was a long sentence. Oh my gosh.
Who writes this stuff?
Terrible. So he's not a nice guy, but he pretends to be because he smiles. They call him the smiling one, Oren Galt. All of this is ultimately so that Oren can pay off his gambling debts to Jabba the Hutt.
Never heard of him.
Obi-Wan catches wind of Oren's trouble, comes to the rescue of everybody, honestly, a time or 3, all the while hiding the not-so-well-hidden fact that he's a Jedi. Long story short, shorter at least, Obi-Wan strikes a deal with Ayark, exposes Oren, saves Annalene and Callie, accidentally upsets a crate dragon with convenient timing. The ones that make this sound, as you just heard. All his heroics are bound to attract attention. So by the end of the story, he cemented his reputation as a crazy old hermit, vows to lie much lower in the future, and leaves the Obi-Wan moniker behind him. Thus, that's not a name I've heard in a long time. So let's go around the horn and rate it. Emma, we're going to start with you, our special guest. First read through. I'm gonna guess that your score is affected by your bristling pace read through. So, but this time around, of course, Emma, tell us what the new rating system is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we recently changed our rating system. I think this is the first Legends Look Back Roundtable since then, I believe. And we're not doing numbered scores anymore. We're going by like a one-word descriptor. So going from lowest to highest, we've got mediocre, fair, good, incredible, and masterpiece. So masterpiece is like as high as you can go. And you'll probably see this on our website for all of the books, and that's how we're doing all of our roundtables from here on out. So
Well said, Emma.
thank you. I am going to give this book, I feel bad, because I feel like everybody's gonna give this like an incredible at least. I'm gonna give it a good. And I'll explain why. Like I think that it was the lack of action for me, but at the same time, it's like why was I expecting a lot of action? He's just like hanging out in the desert by himself. So I'm not 100% sure why I was expecting that. I think it went a little slow. There was a lot of new characters, a lot of crazy names. This is, again, probably because I haven't read a whole lot of Legends. Like, that's just kind of the norm with Legends books, I feel. But I really liked the character Annalene. I thought she was really cool. And the female Tuscan. I thought it was really a cool choice and a rare choice to have a female lead the.
Yeah, come on, bump it up to incredible in the name of feminism, Emma.
Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm probably gonna bump it up when we're done talking about this thing. You guys know how it goes. Like,
and Charles makes a great point. The reason you scored it so low is because you weren't sweaty when you read it. If you had been sweaty, then
that's fair.
It would have been better.
That's fair. I mean, that's how you got to read like every book. You know what I mean?
Everything's better when you're sweaty.
But no, I mean, of course. That wow, what a sentence. I gotta give it room to go up, because I think like after I discuss books like on shows, whether it's a comic, whether it's a canon book, I've done at least one roundtable on here before. The score always goes up because I appreciate it more after talking about it. So totally. I'm going to give it some room to go up. So I'm going to start with good, and we'll see where we go.
Yes, absolutely. Who else? Emily, I know you've read this one before. I love that you haven't read a ton of Legends books, and yet on Legends Look Back, we've mostly had you reread books you read before.
It's pretty crazy how that's turned out. Yeah. So I did read Kenobi. I think it might have been like the second one I ever read. I read Lost Stars, and then because I was following the Utini order, and I think that Kenobi was the next one. And honestly, the first time I read it, was not a fan. I was like, what is going on? Like, there's so many things that are happening in this book that I don't understand. And going back after having read other books and rereading this, I thought it was way better than I originally thought. So I'm going to go with incredible. I think there's still room to be, I'm willing to be talked up. And I would have gone with masterpiece, but Emma's right. I would normally up my score at the end of the episode. So I'm anticipating it'll end up at a masterpiece for me. But right now, I think incredible fits the bill.
You've shown your hand. Both of you said.
We will be changing.
I'll be nicer in a couple hours. I promise.
Well, we basically decided our score, bumped it down one, and then we know what we'll say at the end. That's basically what just happened.
Freddie, what about you, man?
When I read this book, after I finish that last chapter, there's a pool of sweat beneath me. So,
there we go.
Moist.
Okay.
My God.
I think this is, in my opinion, this is a masterpiece, and there's a reason why it belongs on, what are we calling it now? It used to be the foundational
Essential Six.
The Essential Six, because honestly, that it belongs there because it is a book that is very thought provoking, but also you have to imagine how is John Jackson Miller going to milk action and get your heart racing when nothing really should be happening. He should be far away from action in his house, avoiding everything. So the fact that you're brought into stuff, and there's little bits of the Force here and there that are just kind of, maybe pushing a rock a little bit that way, or it's not overt Force. And you got to admit, for him to be able to write that much action, and just the fact when he does use something, right? Like we'll probably talk about here soon. When he turns on that lightsaber, it's an event, right? That's an event in itself. And it's probably not a book for everybody who, especially those who want quick paced action like Death Troopers. You got a book for Death Troopers, hardcore, intense zombie action over there, or Red Harvest if you want some blood and guts. This is something that you have to imagine. Kenobi is trying to survive by being out of the limelight, which is something he doesn't really do. And you have to remember, he was in the limelight during the entire Clone Wars. He was like a famous Jedi. So, masterpiece.
Perfect. I'm gonna give it the same, for pretty much the same reasons as Freddie. After having read, a couple hundred Star Wars books by the point that I read this, it was so refreshing because it is so drastically different. Yes, he uses a lightsaber at some point, but there is not a lightsaber battle. There is not a space battle. And yet it has a climactic ending all the same.
Yeah.
Jared, you're making such a good point.
It's
I-
so
can I
it's
add
so
some
good
thoughts,
because
too?
it is so different. You're up, Rick.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off there.
How sweaty were
Um,
you?
Yeah, please tell me you were sweating.
The sweat scale was up there for sure. So this book was hyped up to me really, really well, but almost in a way that worked against it. I read A New Dawn first, and I loved that book. That book is not often reviewed very favorably, but I thought it was a great, fantastic
With
little
you.
short read, and so I read this book, and I heard that it was such a great classic, and it starts slow. It starts, in the desert in Tatooine. There's not much going on, and it definitely feels like a totally different genre, which is what makes this book unique. Like Jarrett just said, it feels like a western meets sci-fi. Like, you don't know what's going on. You kind of have this OK Corral, or I've never seen Shane, but I imagine that's how it feels.
Shane.
Yeah, and so it that's normally not my cup of tea. I'm an action type person. I don't like the character long drawn out books, but this one masterfully does that. It looks at the character of Obi-Wan, and you really wrestle with his like you guys have already said, but like his identity has completely been upended. He knew who he was, but now he's refining himself, rediscovering himself in Tatooine. And Eric is making jokes in the chat about
Oh no.
Star Trek. Don't get me off topic here.
Right. I almost said the exact same thing, Eric. That's right. Yeah.
There's
I'm
some-
a man of action.
There's some
says the Star Trek
great
reader.
space battles in Star Trek. Okay, anyway, but the character development of Kenobi is fantastic. I love the meditation. Like, it kind of serves like an inner dialogue that gives it a vehicle to get through that. And I don't know. By the end of the book, this is one of those books that stayed with me, and I wanted so much more. I wanted the story to continue, and that to me is what makes it a masterpiece, because I wanted a lot more, and was very, very good experience for me.
I thought you didn't like this book, Rick.
No, I love it.
Didn't you not like it your first read through?
I thought it was slow, and so I was kind of like, it dragged at the beginning, but the more I've thought about it since, I've gone through the process faster than the ladies have, where I've already moved it up the scale a few notches. So it's possible I said I didn't like it before, but
Yeah.
Well,
you have done a
honestly,
reread.
it makes me feel better that like it seems like a common thread is that people's first experience with it, it's like, what did I just read? And then you read it
Loved
again,
it.
it's like, oh, that was really good. I just didn't
What about you,
realize it
Jared?
then. So that
Yeah.
gives
I
me
loved
hope.
it the first read.
I did find it kind of disorienting at first. I
Yeah.
did.
It
by
is
the
slow.
by the end, I had decided that it was phenomenal
Yeah.
and recommended it to a bunch of friends. But at first, I wasn't sure.
It has
Okay,
to be slow,
good.
though.
I
I
was
mean,
in
you
the
can't
middle
really
of
make a
reading, like-
fast Kenobi
I'll-
book. It doesn't make sense to make it
Mhm.
quick action paced, right? Unless he was being chased throughout the entire galaxy, but he wasn't. He was.
If you're
taking
making
care
a
of
Clone
the
Wars
real-
era Kenobi book, that makes sense.
Oh.
But like in this
Yeah.
era,
And I think we're gonna have a more action-packed series. I mean, it looks like the new
Yeah.
Disney Plus series is gonna have Inquisitors, and so I think
Mhm.
we're gonna have that action. So this is a totally
Totally.
different take, which I appreciate.
they've used all their slow character building up on Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, and now they're like, well, darn, now we have to do something fast paced.
I hope there is some slow character building, because that is
For sure.
It's a great time for it, definitely. And Ewan McGregor does it so
Mhm.
friggin' well. So let's talk about 4 or 5 key characters for tonight, for the sake of the time that we have. Let's start with Annaline Caldwell, and we will go to Obi-Wan at the end. What do y'all say?
Do it.
Sounds good.
So Annaline Caldwell first. So I, as a man, struggled on how to write questions about Annaline, because she is the love interest, and she is also the mom, and yet she is so much more than that. And so I'd like to think the questions I've arrived at are acceptable. And I would love to start with the ladies. Emily, we'll start with you on your thoughts on this, first and foremost. And that is, how does she hold the Pika Oasis? I'm stuck on the Pika name now that I'm looking at it. It feels like a Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
It just
It
reminds
does.
me of Pika Adrian from the High Republic. I can't get it out of my
Oh,
head.
yeah, yeah.
I spelled it wrong. All right, there we go. It's got 2 C's, not a K. That's the problem. That's the reason. How does she hold the Pika Oasis together? And in a lot of ways, holds the book together, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good question. I think that it's fundamentally she's a mother and she is consistent. And there isn't a lot of consistency on Tatooine. There's a lot of transients, a lot of people that come in for a little while, they're trying to hide, and then they either die or they move on or they get eaten or something like that. So I think that by maintaining consistency in the Oasis, she provides an anchor point for everyone else in the story.
Oh, good.
Not to be confused with Anchorhead.
Yeah, anchor point. Sure. Emma, how about you?
Oh, that was such a good answer. I mean, I think it's like her caring nature. Like there was one character that always came to the bar, and he like annoyed the heck out of her. But she was always like super caring towards him. I think that's honestly like her motherly side. I don't think you find that many caring people in the deserts of Tatooine, because it's just basically a survival game. And I think that's why people love her, is because she takes care of everybody, whether she likes you or not, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. She even believes in the good in people. She sees the good in almost call him Omar. It's not Owen.
Oh,
Oren. There it is.
Oren,
Oren,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Even
right.
the
My wife is.
Tuscans too. She's about the only settler that really sees
Oh,
her
that's
Yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's totally right. Yeah.
Guys, you want to weigh in on this one?
Am I not mistaken? But is Annalene from a different area or a different planet, and then she settled here on Tatooine? I can't recall her backstory. I know she married the guy who owned the place, and then he
Mhm.
died, and now she's in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
But so the reason why I say that, it reminds me of a small town in the West, right? It's very, everybody knows everybody. Everyone's in everyone's business. Everyone knows everything, and you always have the bullies. You always have the peacekeepers, which Annalene is the peacekeeper, right? She owns a store as well, and she's trying to serve these people. And I think she does it in a way that's not just like nickel and diming. It's legitimately a service that she's providing to the people. Because if she didn't exist there, and if she just picked up her stuff and left, like I think she wanted to, then where would they have gotten their goods and supplies? And she recognized how important she was in this, and understood that in most cases leaders aren't going to be like Oren. In most cases they don't really consider themselves leaders, and Annalene very much is a leader, and that's what she's written as, right? She's a leader in this book, and it's a very passive way of looking at leadership, but everyone looks up to her, and if she yells stop, everyone's going to stop what they're doing and look at what she's doing, and probably feel pretty bad about what they're doing if she's angry at them. But I think it's definitely the peacekeeper attitude, but also she realizes how important she is in the ecosystem of these people, and that's pretty important.
Yeah, definitely. She genuinely invests in the lives of the people there. She's not just a capitalist like Oren trying to take people's money. She is genuinely invested in loving her patrons, as opposed to trying to take advantage of them like Oren does. She holds the book together in addition to the Pika Oasis. She's this love interest for Obi-Wan, who she sees in him what we the reader see in him, and she detects that he's more than just another one of these weirdos that shows up on Tatooine running from the law, right? And she keys in on it and wants to get to know him, and I think that's a beautiful thing. She's more than a love interest, right? How is she more than that, though? Obviously, it's not going to work out between the two of them. It can't work out. We've seen episode 4. Yeah, the numbers are hard. Rick, why is she more than a love interest for Obi-Wan?
So I guess speaking just mechanically for how the book works, she is the companion that helps Obi-Wan discover his purpose again and kind of stay. He has the first real conflict with his purpose. Is he going to stay true to his vow to protect Luke and be there for him as he comes up, or is he going to just abdicate all that and decide to pursue what he wants and really wrestle with his own wants and needs as a human or a person? I guess he's a human. Yeah, he's a human. Okay. And so he, the big purpose for her in the book, besides being an awesome character, is she helps him on his journey to refine who he is in all of this tumultuous. Is that a word? I made up a word.
You're close.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
I'm
Closer than chives.
Yes. So anyway, yeah. So she helps old Ben find out who he is, and so that's her purpose. That's how she holds it together. Says I.
Yeah. Anybody else
I
want
agree
to
with
chime
that.
in on that one?
Well,
The love
Jared, when you
interest
were
topic?
when you were talking about how she like saw, she was like the only person that saw through Obi-Wan, it reminds me of that Han Solo quote from The Force Awakens: "Women always figure out the truth,
Mm.
always."
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the part
That's
where
an
they said, "Are you Han
excellent
Solo?"
time.
and he says, "I used to be."
Yeah. Favorite.
That's a good one too. But yeah, I was worried at first, if I'm gonna be completely honest,
Sure.
when they revealed her to be, or when I sensed that she was gonna be the love interest. I was like, oh no, here we go again. But I should have put more trust in John Jackson Miller, having read A New Dawn before, because he's not, this isn't just any other Legends book. I feel like in my mind, it's like I equate Legends with not always the best writing of women. However, this is a major exception because she definitely was more empowered than I think, any other woman I think than I've read in Legends, original character wise. And, she is the only thing that made the Oasis function. And she also was the only one that showed compassion to literally everyone. She's the only one probably on the entirety of Tatooine that did that. And she wasn't there just to serve Obi-Wan's story. She had her own story. And I think that's like the number one thing when you're writing a woman to go along with a man's story, is like she doesn't just serve his story. She has her own arc. So I just wanted to say that I was pleased to figure out that this is actually an example of a Legends book that treats women very well. So I was happy with that.
Hey,
There
Jared.
are a lot of them, Emma. There are a
Yes.
lot of them.
I was gonna
This
say
one does
there's
very
one
well.
book
It does.
in particular where there is a love interest to a Jedi, and she realizes that she has to be the governor still for this planet, and she cannot leave them behind. And that's Gariel Captison from Chusabakura.
There it is, everybody. There's
That's
your truth
right.
I-
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I believe you.
Freddie, I had some friends
It's
over
a
last
gem.
night, and I showed them my collection, and I specifically pulled the Truce of Bakura hardcover off the shelf and talked to them about the book. So you're welcome.
Dinosaurs.
A great point there, Emma, about her own story, and Obi-Wan is more invested in her own story than he is in a relationship between the two of them. And I think that's a beautiful thing for Obi-Wan as a character. He wants her to achieve and to dream and not to settle.
Yeah.
She's also
and
great.
he also didn't want to tell her like what to do either. Like when she went to him for advice about whether she should marry, was it Oren? He was like, I don't want to tell you what to do. Like, so
He said,
I
do you
liked
want
that.
to marry Oren? That was the question.
Yeah. Because he said something like, you have control over your own life. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good stuff.
Oh, he's such a good character.
He's a good guy.
So
He's a
happy.
good guy.
Yes.
This is great representation. We talk about representation. We often think about gender and we think about race or orientation. This is a different kind of representation, right? It's a single mom. I mean, how many single moms get to see themselves in Star Wars? This is representation for a gas station owner. How many gas station owners get to see themselves as, in Star Wars? Representation for there's the widows, for a widow who has a story and is powerful and is her empathy is as heroic as Obi-Wan swinging a lightsaber. All right, I'm about to preach, y'all.
Come on.
Watch out. All right,
Amen.
let's move on.
Oh, amen.
Let's talk about a less than scrupulous character. I'd like to preach a different kind of sermon to this guy, and that is Oren Galt. There's an amazing, and this is why this book is a masterpiece. There's a switch that happens halfway through where the person you think is the villain, the Tusken Raider chief, is actually an empathetic character, and the person you thought was, one of the good guys, is actually more villainous than the book's villain. Am I right? Why? How is Oren more villainous than a Yark?
I
Freddie,
think
we'll
there's
start with
one
you.
word. There's one word that makes Orin more villainous than Ayark, and that's greed. Because Ayark is not seeking for more of things, or looking for power. They're just trying to survive and live in their homeland that they, it's got very indigenous overtones, right? Which that's kind of the tones going on here, is like you've got the indigenous and then you've got the settlers who are kind of encroaching into the indigenous lands. And so you've got that kind of aspect, which is a very deep topic in itself.
Yeah.
And then you have the greed and the lying, basically everything that I guess everything that's anti-biblical of this of Kenobi is like Oren Galt, right? You've got someone who's gambling, who's in debt, and who's lying a lot, and who's
That's the real problem. He gambles.
Yeah.
he gambles. That's mainly it, and that just causes this downfall of this man, right? This person who could be using his voice for good things, is completely going the opposite way, creating scare tactics, getting money to try to pay off those debts because of those scare tactics, and obviously there's a reason why he wants to pay off that debt rather quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah.
Somebody else, Ayark and Oren Galt side by side. Who's more villainous?
Oh, Oren for sure. Oh my god, I hate this guy so much. I had like the most I had the most visceral reaction to this guy. He is scummy. Like
He's the kind of guy that call you toots.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We gotta
Oh
clip
my
that.
god. That is so accurate. Oh my god. It's just like the fact that he was like, yo, Annalyn, I need like 56,000 credits like right now. And we're not even married yet, but let's get married for like the tax benefits,
And also your son
like-
is dead. It's my fault. But
Yeah.
first of all, let's focus on the money.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I made your son commit a crime, and I am the worst person in the world. Like,
He really, like, you can
He really had
see
some
his
nerve.
perspective, but
Yeah.
I think John Jackson Miller did such an amazing job of completely turning the tables. Like, you
Yes.
thought it was you thought that the whole trajectory of the story was going in one direction, and he really made you question how you view people and how you
Yeah.
can read into a character. Because there are other characters in Star Wars that seem on the outside like they would be more criminal, like Han Solo. But you find out that they really have a heart of gold. And in Oren's
Mhm.
case, it's the opposite, where he seems a little rough around the edges, but you think he's trying to do good. In reality, he's entirely self-serving.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point, because like at the beginning I was like, oh, this guy's so sweet, because he's he's not even married to this woman, but he treats her kids like his own, and like, oh, I love that so much. And he protects the people around him. And then all of a sudden you see he's like really sketchy behind the scenes. Like he puts on a good show, right?
Totally.
And so yeah, that's a great point. It's like it definitely makes you think, like, who in my life could be like that? Like, it definitely makes you wonder.
That's right. Sheep and wolves. No, other way around. Wolf in sheep's
That's
clothing.
the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Sheep
Yep.
and wolf's clothing.
Great dragon in a bantha clothing.
Oh,
Yes.
the banta. Okay.
Yeah, no, I had to find a way to work that in. I was so pleased.
Fun
Got a last minute idea.
Can't see it. You gotta go like this.
We need to
I
clip
love-
that audio and put it on like a quick button.
Oh.
We're having
Yes.
some of the most in-depth, thought-provoking conversation in the history of Legends Look Back, and then we make a stupid joke like that.
Whoa.
Same episode.
I mean,
So,
You gotta balance it, like
Yeah.
Thanos, perfectly balanced.
That's
Yes.
right. We can't take ourselves too seriously because this is Legends after all. Now, we've talked about Oren Galt. We've talked about Annalyn Caldwell. We've at least mentioned in passing a Yark. And Emily, as a mother, I'm interested for you to speak to the moment, and you referenced this earlier, when Annalyn discovers that a Yark is a woman, that she's a mother, and she's the one who could notice that. Whereas Oren was like, that Tuscan chief, he's so terrible, and she says, he's a woman, right? Can you speak to this moment? How did it resonate with you?
it was really fascinating. Again, just really well-written women. Like, there's a Tuscan Raider, the leader of her tribe, and she's a female with children, that she's lost children. She's lost her tribe. She didn't want to step up, but she was forced to from circumstances. I mean, it's just fantastic. I honestly forgot what you even asked because I'm just so like caught up. Like, wow, they're just such depth to their characters. What did you ask?
As a woman, did it, as a mother, specifically as a mother, did it resonate with you that Annalene, a mother, identified with a Yark as a mother, first and foremost, as opposed to a Tusken Raider, as opposed to an indigenous person or somebody everybody around her saw as a villain? First and foremost, she saw her as a mother, right?
That's right.
Does that come across differently for you while you're like nursing your own child?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a kinship that comes with parenthood in general, but specifically as a mother, when you carry a new life in you and give birth to it, and you're the sole sustainer of that life, to be able to recognize that someone else has done that too, and you can see it regardless of species. I think that too, Annalene sees herself reflected in Ayark. So she sees that Ayark is trying to hold together her tribe, just like Annalene is trying to hold together the Pika Oasis. And I think she just recognizes it and has a kinship with it. And I think that's when she starts to flip from being a settler to being more Jedi-esque. And
she does. I didn't even notice that.
Well, I think that I have a theory that Annalene is borderline force sensitive.
Okay.
I think that she connects in a deeper way than anyone else around her. And I think that is why she and Kenobi have such a special bond that could be, it's reasonable to think that she could become a love interest for him.
She feeds off his anger.
Oh, like she connects with the people.
Okay, sure.
She's an empath.
She is. Yeah. And she's a servant leader, a selfless leader. But yeah. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Y'all are blowing my mind tonight. Blowing my mind. Maybe it's the robes, but
because we're all very hot and sweaty.
Oh yeah, turns out.
The discussion.
I feel great, you guys. I don't know about you.
Okay.
I was gonna say too.
Yeah.
When I read this book, it really we already kind of like danced around it, but just the lesson about prejudice, and how I remember reading this and then looking completely differently at the Tusken people as people,
Yeah.
We were so used to calling them raiders or sand people or whatever, but like, hold on, what's their story? Do they, do they have a culture, or are they just savages? That's kind of the language we talked about them, or at least I've thought about them. And so it was a really good moment for me to say, hey, there's a lesson here about prejudice and how I view the people around me or the world around me. And even in Star Wars, it's a great vehicle for conversations like that.
Amen. Now let's talk about one more character for tonight, for the sake of the time that we have, and that is Glomer, the guy that sits at the bar. No, all right. No, we'll talk about.
I was like, wait, I must have missed something.
Fine.
Is this book
8th grade humor, Jared?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is this book more about Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ben Kenobi? Emma, let's start with you.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think it's more about Obi-Wan. Like, I don't think he's fully in his like Ben role yet. Like, I think he's trying to get used to it, but he can't help himself. It's like an itch he's got to scratch. Like he needs to help people that need to be helped, and that's not Ben, that's Obi-Wan. It's interesting, we actually had this discussion on the Cosmic Force last night about like what, are Obi-Wan and Ben the same person, or are they actually different? And we kind of talked about like how it's kind of like a mask he hides behind to kind of accept not being able to help people. And so I definitely think in most of this book, he was kind of in his Obi-Wan mode, even though he was using the name Ben as kind of a cover.
Sure.
So I would say that he's like, this is a book about him trying to find Ben, but he hasn't found him yet.
Wow, that's beautiful. Somebody
I love
else?
That.
I think this is
copy paste.
Ready?
I think this book is about the transition of Obi-Wan and Ben, and we see that transition happen. It doesn't happen right away. It takes a long time for Obi-Wan to understand why he needs to basically protect Luke, and why he needs to sit tight, and why he needs to focus on letting the world outside solve its issues. He has a bigger purpose, and you can see him he knows that he has to do that. He knows at the very beginning, and just like change, and with yourself and with the people you know around you, the person you were a year ago is not going to be the same due to the things you experience, etc. And it's kind of the opposite. In this case, he has to forget everything. He has to forget the Clone Wars, and he has to forget how how powerful he is, and all the fame he received during the Clone Wars. And he was he was a celebrity, and then he has to learn how to basically live in a small town he probably doesn't want to live in the desert alone by himself. And he's struggling to really figure out who this person is and what this person should do. And you can tell that the only way he's going to learn that is through experience and learning the consequences of something, which we see that we see him doing something, and he's like, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I could have exposed myself and ruined this entire thing. He really struggles with that, and that the only way to really deal with that is through experience. There's no way to really plan for it. There's no way to prepare for it. And what we're seeing in this book is him trying to be this person, but experiencing the consequences of being the good guy, and realizing he needs to take a step back and prioritize the bigger goal, which honestly has bigger ramifications to the entire universe, right? The entire galaxy, not just what's going on locally.
I've got a theory, since tonight's the night of hot takes. Emma, as our resident comics expert, do you remember the alternate title that Charles Soule had for The Rise of Kylo Ren?
I don't think I've ever heard of it ever, actually.
Oh, I love dropping Star Wars facts.
Yeah,
I
lay
love
it on me.
mansplaining Star Wars. I just really do. Okay.
That's most of the show.
Corey wouldn't let me use that title, so you went with Legends Lookback. That is From Ben to Ren is the title that he pitched.
Oh, that's cool.
Kylo goes from being Ben Solo to Kylo Ren, from Ben to Ren. It rhymes, so
Yeah.
I don't have one that rhymes, but I think that this symmetrically is from Obi-Wan to Ben. So he is Ben by the end of the book, but he's not at the beginning. See what I'm saying? So it doesn't rhyme.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's halfway there. It's halfway
Yeah.
there.
It's a mirror image of it. Yeah.
Totally. Now,
Obi-Wan to no one.
Oh.
there it is. It rhymes, ladies and gentlemen. It
Yeah.
rhymes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, we found it.
we found it. We arrived. We got there. It took a second, and then we got there. The moment in A New Hope when he says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's not a name I've heard in a long time. I sounded more like Doc Brown from
Yeah.
from
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future than I did Obi-Wan.
That sounded like Dexter Jetster right there.
Where your pocketbook is. Yeah, for sure. That moment hits so differently after you've read this book. And that's the best thing about an expanded universe book, when it changes the way you watch the films, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, for the sake of the time that we have, I want to talk about a quote. It is one of the most powerful quotes in the history
Is it from Glomer?
Star Wars books. No, not Glomer. Shout out to Glomer. He's a real one. There's a point where Obi-Wan says about Oren, where she's trying to figure out what she thinks of him. Like, they've been close friends and companions and business partners for decades. She says he's a good friend and he's a good person. He's not a monster. And Obi-Wan says there are monsters in all walks of life. One doesn't need unlimited power, there it is, to create victims. One just needs to be desperate. She goes on to give this explanation on why she tolerates his bad behavior, which is like a whole commentary there on why we tolerate people's bad behavior rather than calling them on it or trying to encourage people to be better. But it's part of the same conversation. She says he's a lying, cheating, out of control scoundrel. But there's and this is the line, there's still good in him. I mean, he really uses these loaded phrases from the films, which is amazing. There's still good in him. Ben shoots that down, saying, there's good in most. Where do you draw the line? Okay, this is a huge character moment for Obi-Wan.
Huge.
From there, he seems to have given up in the original trilogy given up on the good invader, right? He encourages Luke to kill him. He doesn't believe when Luke says, there's still good in him, I know it. He doesn't believe him. And he's like, that's not going to work. Don't go down that path. How does this book illustrate how trauma had changed Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah. This is just like what I was talking about, right? And Charles said it in the chat. There's, Doctor Who has a very good quote in there where each doctor kind of learns from the other one. You have to take those lessons. And just like each person comes in your life, unfortunately, friends aren't always there, right? You wish you could have that group of friends forever. For some people, that does happen. But in most cases, you got to understand that life just takes you a different route, and you just have to remember what that person taught you. Same with relationships, right? They may end, but you must have learned something. But in this case, man, the trauma of seeing your brother, you're my brother, just completely betray you. I can't imagine what that feels like. I don't know what that would look like or feel like to me. That'd be like Jared coming over for celebration and saying, you're not going to celebration, I'm chopping your leg off. And it's like, what?
Yeah, well, to be fair, Freddie, I was standing upstairs and you were down on the first floor.
You had the high ground.
I don't know what you were thinking.
No,
that's a great point.
So
we've been together for 3 years. Obi-Wan and Anakin have been together for 12, 13.
I mean, they grew up
since he was
together.
a child, right? Like, Anakin was literally a child. Are you an angel? Child, right?
Right.
And to see this person, it almost seems like overnight he just became this. I mean, to me, it was a buildup, right? We all know there's a buildup with Anakin, but almost to see him completely change on you and just start attacking you, and you're like, where is this coming from, dude? Like, what are you doing, right? And having to make the decision that, I know there's good in this Anakin kid. I've seen him. I know there's good there, but sometimes you got to cut your losses and realize that it may not be your person to bring out that good of, right? It's not your job to bring it out. Maybe someone else named Luke, but it's not your job, and you just got to cut your loss and know when to bail out. And that's what happened. And it's so hard. I don't know if anybody here knows what that feels like, but that trauma has to be intense.
Man, that's well said, especially from the context of real world relationships. Somebody else can save, you're the person in your life with bad behavior, specifically like a therapist.
Yeah.
But it's not up to you in every situation. Somebody else want to weigh in on this tremendously weighty line and this change that takes place in Obi-Wan? Emma?
I think that it was interesting to me. There was a moment in the book, I can't remember specifically the line, but Annalene said something to him like, you've been through a lot, I can tell. And I think like the whole situation with Anakin, it's very obvious that it is weighing on him a lot in like the way that he acts, and that he, obviously he has Luke to, watch over, but really I think even if he didn't have Luke, I think he would want to be alone kind of, and sort of like replay that in his mind a little bit. Like, I think I've said this before, but if there were therapists in Star Wars, everything would have been fine.
Right.
Like he could have used, a therapist, because like he definitely, it's like a ton of bricks just like weighing down on him. Like he feels this like need to, protect Luke, so that what happened to Anakin doesn't happen to him. And I think that like every single thing that Luke does, he worries like, is this leading him down a path that Anakin went down? What did I do wrong? Like, could I, make sure that he doesn't go down that path, unlike Anakin? And I think he's, kind of taking this time by himself to kind of analyze what exactly happened. And, it's just interesting. And I appreciate that, he's able to hide it from some people, like how much that weighs on him, but he wasn't able to hide it from Annalene. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, beautiful. Definitely. Well, last chance, everybody. Anything else you want to say about this?
Rick, maybe Rick and Jared, let me ask you this question. With theology, is there a point where, because in my eyes, I feel like Obi-Wan is almost like, why have you forsaken me? Why do I have to be the one that's in this situation? Talk to me, like, please, I need help. Is that, do you see that like a reoccurring theme in theology during, like, I guess the ascension, right? The next level. And I feel like that's where Ben's heading, is the next level of protector.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very common experience throughout humanity. I think of the character in the Book of Job, and his trials. But like, as I was thinking about this too, like, there may not be a therapist in Star Wars, but the spiritual practice of solitude, living in a desert, kind of became a healing ground for Obi-Wan. Those are just my initial thoughts. Jared, what do you got?
Yeah, and meditation. He does meditate.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot to be said for in those moments where you feel alone, crying out anyway in prayer specifically. Yeah, it would be better to voice your frustrations in prayer than to just internalize them and do nothing, or to hate yourself. And so there's that.
Leads to the dark side.
It's almost the difference between Obi-Wan, Ben, right, and Anakin. Anakin just shut everything inside.
Yeah.
And here
Conceal,
Ben is just
don't feel.
talking.
Okay.
There it is. That's it. We did it, guys.
That's
We solved the
exactly
Star
it.
Wars tonight.
We
We
solved
solved
it.
the
solved
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars.
That's it. Absolutely.
Let's pack it up and start reading Star Trek books.
We've talked about
Your
Doctor
name
Who
next week.
I
too.
know.
and Star Trek tonight. What a show. Well, hey, we've talked about characters. Any other characters you want to give a shout out to? A lightning round of honorable mentions. Let's give a shout out to
Lord
to Monkey
Voldemort.
Jabba.
Just gotta throw another franchise in. I'm sorry.
Lord
I'm
Voldemort.
sorry.
Monkey Jabba is a character that
Yeah.
John Jackson Miller brought back in from the original Marvel comics, Moset
Moset
Benid.
Benid,
And
yeah.
I love Jonathan Davis's voice for Moset Benid.
Yeah.
He's spectacular.
I agree. I agree with that. Can I shout out a character, not for any specific reason other than a funny one?
Sure.
I went up until like an hour ago believing Callie was actually Cammy, as in like Luke's friend. So there you go.
Kind of like a Darth
That'd be cool.
Hannah situation there.
Yeah.
Hannah. Darth Hannah.
Yeah.
Can we give
I'd
it
like
to
to
the
shout
EOP?
out Rue. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
there
was
we
gonna
go.
be my
Yes.
shout out. Had a baby and then like ran her little behind off. Like
Yes.
what?
We
Like-
stand. She is a queen. Queen
Yes,
behavior.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I would like to say, all right, sweeping declaration, if Obi-Wan's Eopie in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus show isn't named Rue,
I know.
I will
I'm a-
riot.
I know. Jared, when I was listening to that clip, the meditation clip, and he said Rue, I was like, oh, it's happening. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is 9 years old. Ah.
Dang.
Yeah.
And it's also just a really cute name.
Yeah.
It is.
But okay, so think
Yes.
about this. He went through trauma, and now he's alone, and he got a pet.
Yeah, like
And
a therapy
that's-
pet.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful relationship.
It
Okay,
is
so
beautiful.
shout out to Rue.
Unconditional love.
Rue is the
Rue-
goat, and by
She's
goat,
the real hero of the story.
Yeah.
and by goat, I do mean Eopie. So we've got some great stuff coming up down the pipeline here at UTNE. We are, many of us, everybody but Rick here from the show, going to
Aw.
Celebration. But don't worry, Rick, I'm going to try to get you the books.
Mm.
We are going to Celebration. So we are not going to have a live show next week. But what we do have, however, Freddie, tell the good folks, the Kenobi Week surprise.
I think it's should I say it? Should I wait? No, I'm gonna say it. We're interviewing, guess who? Friend of the show, John Jackson Miller, tomorrow night.
Yes, we are. So we are going to be playing an interview at some point. We're trying to figure out exactly when we're going to launch it. We're going to have an interview with John Jackson Miller about specifically Kenobi. And he told me in the email, do not, for any reason, ask me about the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show.
That means he knows something.
So we can't.
You know.
We are not. No, he just said
Yes.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
You should not have told
Yep.
me that. You should not have told me
Rick
that.
is definitely gonna accidentally ask him. something.
I'm gonna derive a question in Klingon to ask him that maybe only he would know. And okay,
He's gonna write it in the next
no.
book.
Oh,
I'll
man.
start the Zoom meeting tomorrow so you don't mess this up. So very excited about that. This is a Kenobi Week surprise. Next week on the Living Force, they're going to be doing a celebration pre-show. Emma, what's coming up next week on the Cosmic Force?
Oh man, we're pretty much doing the same thing as the Loving Force in a way, but it's gonna be like slightly more comic centric. We're pre-recording it. Actually, Jared will be joining us.
Oh, shoot, I
because
forgot.
you forgot. Oh man, you're so funny. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about what we hope to see at the Marvel Comics panel, talk about what's going on with Utini stuff, and also talk about some of the other things that we're hoping to see there as well. Tyler and I will be meeting in person for the first time, so we're going to kind of, hype people up for that. Maybe we'll try to find some super old comics while we're there. We'll kind of talk about all that fun stuff. So it'll be great.
Fun. Yeah.
You guys are going to visit my comic shops and take all my stuff.
We won't do that. We're going to be too busy with celebration.
Yeah.
So excited to meet one another in person for the first time. Definitely. Except for Emma. I've met Emma. And Emma's met me. How about that as a coincidence?
Jared's the only one from Utini I've met in person, actually, which is crazy.
I know. Emma, very tall. Surprisingly tall.
Yep. That is
I met Eric.
what I'm known for.
There you go. You've met
Me
Eric.
too. I'm very tall.
We're going to meet Darth Tumnus, aren't we, Emily?
We're going to meet Darth Tumnus.
Yay,
He will be
I can't
attending
wait.
Celebration.
That's so awesome.
Oh
That's
man,
exciting.
I'm gonna
I
miss
love
it.
that
We got to
so
put some,
much.
like one of those Yoda hats on him and put him in a backpack.
I've got a few outfits have been given to me. No
Nice.
Yoda hats, though, but I think we got to get one.
I'll start knitting tomorrow. We'll get on it. Rick, are you hiding?
Goes
in
on
shame?
Amazon right now.
I'm brooding,
Rick!
seething,
Oh,
seething in
Rick.
anger.
Rick's eyes are
poor
turning
Rick.
yellow under the hood.
Make sure
And-
if you're around Rick, make sure you have the high ground.
Oh.
Oh my goodness! So we've got some fun stuff coming up down the pipeline, as it concerns Kenobi, as it concerns Celebration, and we can't wait to share it with you. Thank you to our sister shows for being a part of Kenobi Week. We've still got Star Wars Archives coming up. Got some more content coming around the bend, including our John Jackson Miller interview. Very excited to put all this together. Excited to share off the Jedi robes by Hannah Laminack as well. And listeners, if you got ideas for Utini crossover events, please shoot them to us in the Discord and on Twitter. And we would love to hear more about how we can do these better in the future. We've had a lot of fun planning.
Jared.
What's up?
really-
Are we all thanking Jared for being the champion of
Well, I
Kenobi
was just
Week?
about to interrupt him and say, like, Jared, I know you're not going to shout yourself out, but
Yeah.
listeners, Jared has literally coordinated this entire thing, and it would
Every
not have happened without
single
him.
detail.
So
Listen,
every single thing. So
it hasn't
seriously,
been
bro,
that.
shout out.
Thank you. It's just basically I'm saying, hey, let's all talk about the same thing the same week.
All
Like, it's
right.
not all that.
It's
It
been
was
more than that.
much
Every-
more
It's
involved.
more than
Everybody's
that.
sand person celebration on 3. 1, 2.
No, cut it
I
off.
just
That's
woke
it.
up my entire
That's it.
household. I guarantee it.
Well, shout out to Emma's parents. And that does it for this week. Thank you for joining us for Legends Look Back. Thanks to our incredible patrons for your support. We love making this show and are glad that you're along for the ride. Special thank you to OK Indar, Brian Dooley, Patrick Ortiz, Earl Q, Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as Elizabeth Cloutier, Freddie C, Sally, and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Remember to sub to the channel and leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice. And if you would like your thoughts right on the show, such as, where do you think about Kenobi? Because we just talked about it tonight. We'd love to hear what you think. You can email us at legendslookback@utini.com. You can send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. Leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter as well. We can talk at the regular main show account, Legends Look Back, or I'm Jared Q. Mays, Freddie,
At Wake Up Freddy.
Rick,
At Rick_Grace.
Emily,
Darth Daybeck.
and Emma.
At Irma Jedi 26.
If you're looking to buy some of these books, such as Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, or if you want to pick up, the trade paperback that they talked about last night, The Cosmic Forest from the Journals of Obi-Wan Kenobi, you can go on over to Amazon. No, go on over to utini.com. Click on the Amazon link in the book's profile. There it is. I've only said this 100 and something times. I'm still figuring it out. And hey, you
Doing
can
great.
also leave us a review when you have read the story and let us know what you think. Remember, everybody, to keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. Until next time, may the force be with you.